Okay, so this time we have to use, we're going to have to make equivalent equations. This time it is not going to perfectly work out that one of the variables is already a plus and a minus. So you have choice here again. So let's say you have, these are your two systems that you need to do. So it's 2x and 3x. Those are not opposites. 5x and -4, 5y and -4y. Those are also not perfect opposites. However, they already have a positive and a negative sign. So that might draw your attention to these two. You can do 2 and 2 and 3 as well, but one of them you're going to have to multiply by a negative number. So then it changes the signs and that kind of thing. So then again, that can lead to annoying mathematical mistakes, right? You know how to do elimination, but you're getting the wrong answer because instead of positive, you have a negative or vice versa. So when you have a question like this, then look for the one that already is plus and minus, okay? It doesn't really matter. I know there are instances where having the lowest common denominator or whatever is most reduced fraction or whatever is really important. We just need these to be equivalent. The easiest way to do that, if this is 5 and 4, we're going to multiply this equation by 4, and we're going to multiply this equation by 5, okay? So, like you're basically switching. Just like before, some people will write it out here, and their brain tells them that means you have to multiply every single term by 4, or you can write it like this. Put the 4 or the term from the equation in brackets, it doesn't matter. So if you can do this and get to this, or if you need this extra step in the middle, then do the extra step, okay? So this equation by 4, because I want to make an equivalent y value here so that they will eliminate or become 0. So if I multiply 5y by 4, I get positive 20y. If I multiply negative 4y by 5, then I get negative 20y, okay? But again, in math, what you do to one thing, you have to do to everything in the equation. So we have to multiply this entire equation by 4, this entire equation by 5. Notice these are not the same, right? So it's all about one equation and then the other equation, okay? So 2x times 4 is 8x. 5y times 4 is 20y. Negative 26 times 4 is negative 104. When you make equivalent fractions, you might find your numbers are a lot bigger. So maybe, do the multiplication in your calculator. If you don't know what 4 times 26 is, negative 26, there's no reason not to, okay? And then this equation, we want this to now become negative 20y, so we need to multiply negative 4 times 5. So then we multiply 3x times 5, 15x. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20, and 5 times 30 times 5 is 150. Most people, if you're going to make a mistake here, you forget to multiply the number at the end. Most people remember to do the variables, and they forget to do the number. So just make sure what you do to one, you do to them all, okay? So now, this is called an equivalent system, we could divide by 4, divide by 5, and get our originals back, okay? So now, when we add them together, the 20, or the y's, we're going to get 0 y. So once we find the equivalent system, the steps are exactly the same. We want one of them to have opposite signs. So they add to 0. That's what the cancel out means, okay? We're still going to line them up. You can still write a line underneath and a plus sign, like, learning how to do stacking addition in grade 3 or whatever. all those other steps are the same. So there's just a first initial step. When you look at this, none of these are going to eliminate. We need to make them equivalent so that they will eliminate. Okay? So here's another example done for you. So here we have x plus 2y, 4x minus y. So again, because the equation, the y values are already opposite signs, then I'm going to choose that variable. You can choose the x, but one of them you would have to multiply by a negative sign. And then you could even have, let's say you had, this. These almost look equivalent. What would I have to multiply by? What would you write down to multiply by to change the sign? Some people will just say change the signs, but really what you're doing is multiplying by -1, right? And then it becomes negative x minus y. Okay? So that is one. It's sort of, it's not that it's tricky, but it just, might catch you for a second. This question, the first equation, we don't have to do anything to, and that's fine too, okay? The second one, we're going to multiply by 2. So again, you can choose to write it like this, and then go all the way to here. But if you need this middle step, write the middle step, okay? So x plus 2y equals 10, we're just going to leave alone. Then 4x times 2 is 8x. Negative y times 2 is negative 2y. And now these are the same, but opposite signs, so they will add to 0. And don't forget to do the number, which is negative 14 times 2 is negative 28. So choose whichever variable you want. In this case, chose to eliminate y. Because it already has opposite signs, you can certainly choose x. It doesn't matter. Make the coefficients opposite by multiply equation 2 by 2. Then you add them together. So x plus 8x is 9x. 2y plus negative 2y is 0. You can show the 0 or not. 10 plus negative 28 is negative 18. Then we need to divide by 9, and you get negative 2. Then you sub the negative 2 into equation 1. Similar to the simpler type of elimination, you can do equation 1 or equation 2. It doesn't matter. So both of them are equally simple, so it really doesn't matter, I don't think. So negative 2 plus 2y equals negative 10. When you bring the negative 2 to the other side, it becomes positive. Or if you need to write it out, like you need to show this step where you're going to get 0 to cancel it out, you can do that too. Maybe your grade 9 teacher made you do that. 2y equals 10 plus 2. And then you have to divide by 2 to get 6. And then just read the question if it says to check or not, okay? So, and then the point of intersection, because now we have an x value and we have a y value, that becomes our ordered pair, right? Okay? All right, so we're going to solve by elimination. I'm going to choose y. Why did I choose y? Claire. I think you're on the right track. So let's do the y's. She's thinking substitution, I think, but these are already opposite signs. And then you don't have to multiply by -1, okay? But we do have to multiply by something. So the first equation we can leave alone, but the second equation, in order for the y's to cancel out, it's only 1y right now, -1y, we need it to be 5. So I'm going to write the step where I write the number beside each term. So some of you will want to do this. To remind yourself, some of you will be able to just go right to the answer. Okay, so it depends what you like better. So number 1, we don't do anything. 2x times 5 is 10x. Negative y times 5 is 5y. Negative 5 times 5 is 25. Yes. You know what? You can. Let's say, for a second, I'm like, oh, I should make this 10. Whatever, doesn't matter. You can make this 10y, multiply by 10. Then what would you have to multiply this by? 2. But the simplest thing to do, which is fine, you can do that. The simplest thing to do, since this is 5, positive, and this is negative already, what do we need? In order for them to cancel out, we need this to be 5. So you just have to multiply this one by 5, or this one by 5. Yes. Opposite signs, yes. Because you want it to eliminate or go to 0. So 13x equals -13. -13 divided by 13 is -1. Doesn't matter, into 1, whatever you want. Okay, it does say to check. So So you do the same thing, left side, right side. Okay, I'm gonna sneak this in, okay? Because I wanna show you that it really doesn't matter, all right? So let's say I have these two equations, and that's kind of why people like elimination better. It's a lot more, you have a lot more choice, really, okay? Let's say I have a brain fart for a second, and I'm like, you know what? I wanna solve for x, whatever. I like x better, I don't know. I'm xist. Okay, so now these are the same sign. So one of them you have to multiply by a negative number, okay? So again, do 3 and 2, multiply one by 3 and the other by 2. So let's say I did negative 2, and this one I'm going to multiply by 3. So then you just have to be careful that you're going to change the signs. 3 times negative 2, negative 6. 5 times negative 2, negative 10. 12 times negative 2, negative 24. And then 3 times 2, 6x. 3 times... And now negative 6 and 6 is 0. Negative 13y. And negative 39. Negative 24 plus negative 15. Divide by negative 13. Y equals 3. Do I get the same answer? Yes. There should only be one point of intersection. Okay? So it does elimination, like I said, doesn't matter what you choose, but again, try to make life easier for yourself, right? Yes. Yep. Yes. Yes. Just make sure you change every sign in that equation. Yep. Okay, we'll do one more example where we have to change both. Maybe. Okay, so these ones, the x's and the y's have numbers in front, coefficients. But again, the y happens to have different signs. So that might draw your attention to those, but you could do the x's. I just showed you, you get the same answer. You're just going to have to multiply one of them by a negative number, and then that's going to change the signs of everything in that equation, okay? So again, just another case where you might make a mistake. Yes. Yes. So I'm going to do y. So the first equation, you multiply by 5. And then the second one by 4. I don't know why in the examples I'm obsessed with y. You don't have to always pick y, okay? Pick whatever easiest that you're going to have to make, that there's less opportunity to make annoying little math errors, okay? Like I said about this unit test, you can check your answer, which is great if you're right. However, you can also check and know if you're wrong, which can be really frustrating, okay? So go slow, use a calculator so that you don't make annoying math errors. Okay, so the first one, again, decide if you need to write out the extra step. Or if you can go do the multiplication, if you can see it, 3x times 5 is 15x. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. 7 times 5 is 35. Four times 4 is 16, yes. Most people pick the original because they don't trust themselves. And if you pick the original, your numbers will be smaller. But technically, if it works, if you did it right, it shouldn't matter. Okay, Kyle just asked a good question. When you sub back in, should you use the equivalent equations that you made or the originals? Most people don't trust their work, so they want to go back to the originals. Also, you can see when you make an equivalent equation, often the numbers get big, and that can be a little bit intimidating as well, okay? So now we're ready to add them together. 15 plus 16x is 31x. Negative 20 plus 20 is 0. 35 plus negative 128 is negative 93. Boys. So we need to, again, maybe you don't know your 31 in the multiplication table, so you'll need your calculator, which is totally fine, okay? X is negative 3. So I'm going to pick number 1, but I'm going to pick my original one so that the numbers are smaller. It does say to check, so check in both. Again, when you check, I would go back to the originals so that your numbers are smaller.